The old freight ship groaned as Lieutenant Jung Kim guided it through the asteroid belt. Sweat dripped down his face despite the cold cabin. His ship, the Star Runner Asterisk, was 10 years past when it should have been scrapped. But it was all he had left after the military kicked him out. Just one more run, Jung said to himself, checking the cargo manifest. One more run, then maybe a real meal that isn't freeze-dried. The ship's computer beeped with a warning. June looked up, alert. A large asteroid had drifted into his path. He moved to steer around it when something on his scanner caught his eye. "That's strange," he muttered. The asteroid was giving off energy readings. Not much, but asteroids shouldn't give off any energy at all. June's hand hovered over the comm button to report it, but he stopped. The last time he'd reported something unusual, the military had laughed him out of his job. June made a quick decision. He changed course and brought the Star Runner Asterisk closer to the asteroid. As he neared it, he could see that part of the rock had broken away, revealing something shiny underneath. "No one would mind if I took a quick look," he told himself, knowing it was against the rules. But rules hadn't done him any favors lately. He put on his spacesuit, checked his oxygen levels, and left his ship. Using his suit's thrusters, he made his way to the asteroid's surface. His boots magnetized to the rock as he landed. June switched on his helmet light and peered into the crack in the asteroid. What he saw made him gasp. Inside, partly covered by rock, was a massive crystallized shape. It looked like a giant lizard or snake, curled up as if sleeping. But it was enormous, at least 20 times larger than his ship. The crystal had a slight red glow, pulsing very slowly, like a heartbeat. "What are you?" June whispered, his words fogging his helmet. He reached out, unable to stop himself, and touched the crystal surface. The moment his gloved hand made contact, a burning sensation shot up his arm. June cried out in pain and tried to pull away. But he couldn't move. Visions flooded his mind. Stars exploding, planets forming, and massive creatures soaring through space without ships, breathing fire that burned even in the vacuum. Then, as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. June fell backward, his breath coming in quick gasps. He looked at his hand. The glove was intact, no damage at all. "I'm losing my mind," he said, scrambling back to his feet. Too much time alone in space. He hurried back to his ship, trying to forget what he had seen. Once inside, he stripped off his suit and checked his arm. There was no burn, no mark at all. But his skin felt warm, warmer than it should be. "Just my imagination," he told himself as he set course for the mining colony where he was to deliver his cargo. That night, as June slept in the cramped bunk of his ship, he dreamed of flying. Not in a ship, but with wings of his own, breathing fire among the stars. And somewhere deep in his mind, he heard a voice, ancient and powerful. "Asterisk at last. Asterisk," it seemed to say. "Asterisk at last. I have found you." Asterisk. When June woke the next morning, he had forgotten the dream. But his body temperature was 2 degrees higher than normal, and when he looked in the mirror, for just a second, he thought his eyes looked different. The pupils narrow, like a reptile's. Then he blinked, and they were normal again. The delivery to the mining colony went smoothly. No one noticed anything different about Jung Kim, the disgraced former military pilot. No one knew that inside him, something ancient and powerful had begun to wake up. Something that would change the fate of humanity forever. 3 months passed since Jung Kim's strange encounter with the crystal in the asteroid. He tried to forget about it, but his body wouldn't let him. June woke up sweating again. His small apartment on the colony station felt like an oven. He checked the room's temperature control. It read normal, but his skin felt like it was burning from the inside. "Not again," he muttered, stumbling to the bathroom. The mirror showed what he feared. His eyes had changed again. The pupils were narrow slits, like a cat's or a reptile's. Last time, they had returned to normal after a few minutes. This time, they stayed that way for an hour. June splashed cold water on his face. When he looked up, his eyes were human again. He sighed with relief. Later that day, June sat in a crowded bar, nursing a drink. The colony news played on the screens. A reporter looked worried as she spoke. Another human colony has gone silent. This is the third one this month. Military officials refuse to comment, but sources say it might be a new alien species. June barely heard her. The noise in the bar was giving him a headache. His senses had become too sharp lately. He could hear conversations from across the room, smell what people had eaten hours ago. A large man bumped into June, spilling his drink. "Watch it, space trash," the man growled. On any other day, June would have walked away. He wasn't looking for trouble, but something hot and angry flared in his chest. "You bumped into me," June said, standing up. The man laughed and pushed June hard. "What are you going to do about it?" June felt something strange happen. His hands grew hot, very hot. For a split second, they glowed red, and smoke rose from his fingertips. The man's eyes widened in fear. June looked down at his hands in shock. The glow was gone, but he had felt it, power like fire running through his veins. What are you?" the man asked, backing away. June ran out of the bar, his heart racing. He knew there was only one person who might help him understand what was happening. Dr. Sue Park looked up from her microscope when June entered her lab. They had been friends since childhood, before June joined the military and Sue became a scientist who studied alien life forms. "June, it's been ages," she said, smiling. Then she saw his face. "What's wrong?" "Something's happening to me, Sue," June said. "Something I can't explain." He told her about the asteroid, the crystal creature, and all the strange things that had been happening to his body. As he spoke, his temperature rose again, and Sue's equipment began to beep. "Your body temperature is 40 degrees Celsius, she said, looking worried. "You should be dead or at least very sick, but you seem fine." She took blood samples and scanned his body. Her eyes grew wider with each test result. "June, your DNA is changing," she whispered. "It's incorporating an unknown structure I've never seen before." She showed him the screen. His normal human DNA was there, but something else was weaving into it, something that glowed faintly on the scanner. "What's happening to me?" June asked. Before Sue could answer, emergency alarms blared throughout the station. The colony was on high alert. "Attention all residents," a voice announced. "We have received word that an unknown alien vessel is approaching our system. All civilians must proceed to shelter areas immediately." June and Sue looked at each other. Outside the lab window, they could see people running in panic. "The aliens from the news," Sue said. "They're here." June felt a strange sensation in his chest, like something awakening, responding to the threat. In his mind, he heard a distant voice he remembered from his dreams. "Asterisk. They have found us," asterisk it said. Asterisk. "The Vorn have found us." Asterisk. "Who are the Vorn?" June asked out loud. Sue looked at him strangely. "I didn't say anything about Vorn." "June, who are you talking to?" June didn't answer. The fire in his veins was spreading, and this time, he wasn't afraid of it. Somehow, he knew he would need it soon. The colony station shook as something hit it from outside. June and Sue grabbed onto the lab table to keep from falling. "We need to get to the shelters," Sue said, gathering her research tablet. June nodded, but the voice in his head was getting louder. Asterisk. "The Vorn are hunters. They will find you in your hiding places. They have hunted my kind for thousands of years." Asterisk. "Who are you?" June whispered. "What's happening to me?" Asterisk. "I am Raon, the last of the celestial dragons. And you, Jum Kim, are becoming something new." Asterisk. Another explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency red lights came on instead. "June, We have to go now. Sue pulled at his arm. They ran through the corridors with other scared people. Through the large windows, they could see a black ship outside. It wasn't like any human ship. It looked like it was made of dark metal, with sharp points sticking out all over it. That's not one of ours, someone in the crowd said. June stopped running. The heat in his body was becoming unbearable. I can't. I need to. He couldn't finish his sentence. The pain was too much. Sue looked back at him. June? His skin began to glow red in spots. Sue's eyes widened as she watched scales form on June's arms. They were dark red with hints of gold, and they looked hard as metal. This is impossible, she whispered, reaching out to touch one of the scales. June screamed in pain as more scales appeared. The voice of Raong filled his mind. Asterisk, let it happen. Do not fight it. The transformation is beginning. Asterisk. A loud crash came from down the hall. People screamed as something broke through the station wall. Sue pulled June into a side room and closed the door. Through the small window in the door, they saw their firstborn. It was tall and thin, with pale skin that looked almost like metal. It had 4 arms and a head with no eyes they could see. Instead, it had what looked like metal plates where eyes should be. It carried a weapon that glowed with blue energy. The Vorn fired at the running humans. The blue energy hit a man, and he simply disappeared, leaving nothing behind. They're killing everyone, Sue said, her voice shaking with fear. Inside June, something snapped. The pain of transformation was replaced by a burning rage. His eyes changed completely to those of a reptile, golden with black slits. His hands turned into clawed weapons, covered in scales. Asterisk, they are the enemy of all life. Asterisk, Ryong's voice said. Asterisk, we must stop them. Asterisk. June felt his chest burning. Without thinking, he opened the door and faced the Vorn. The alien turned toward him, raising its weapon. June opened his mouth, and to his surprise, a jet of flame shot out. The fire hit the Vorn, and it screeched with a sound like metal being torn. The alien fell to the ground, its body smoking. Sue stared at June in shock. You just breathed fire, she said, like a dragon. More Vorn were coming down the hall. June could feel them approaching. I don't know what's happening to me, he said, looking at his scaled hands. But I think I can fight them. His back hurt suddenly, as something pushed against his skin from inside. He knew more changes were coming. Sue picked up a tablet from a nearby desk and started recording everything. Whatever is happening to you might be our only chance, she said. The Vorn just destroyed 3 colonies. Earth sent ships to stop them, but they were all destroyed. June nodded, feeling the power of Raong flowing through him. He wasn't just June anymore. He was becoming something else, something that might save humanity. Stay behind me, he told Sue. I'll keep you safe. He faced the corridor where the Vorn were coming, ready to embrace the fire within. 3 days after the attack on the colony station, June woke up in a white room. He was in a bed with machines beeping around him. The scales on his arms were gone, but he could still feel Ryong's presence in his mind. Where am I? He asked. A door slid open, and Sue walked in. Behind her was a tall man in a military uniform. He had many medals on his chest, and his face was serious. You're in a military base on Earth, Sue said. They brought us here after you. She looked at the military man. After you killed 12 Vorn soldiers and saved 43 civilians. The man finished for her. I'm Colonel Tahan. And you, Lieutenant Kim, are the most interesting person I've met in 20 years of military service. June tried to sit up. His body felt heavy and strange. How did we get to Earth? He asked. A military ship was close to your colony when the attack happened, Colonel Ta said. We got the emergency call and arrived just in time to see you breathing fire and growing scales. Very impressive. June looked at his normal-looking hands. It's gone now. Temporarily, Sue said. Your DNA is still changing, June. The alien structure is becoming more integrated with your human cells. Colonel Todd pulled up a chair and sat beside June's bed. We are losing this war, Lieutenant Kim, he said. His voice was tired. The Vorn appeared 6 months ago. They have destroyed 5 colonies and killed over 2 million humans. Our weapons barely damaged their ships. He showed June a tablet with images of Vorn ships destroying human space stations and colonies. But you, Todd continued, you hurt them. The fire you breathed melted through their armor. Nothing we have can do that. Asterisk, of course. Asterisk, Ryong's voice said in June's mind. Asterisk. The Vorn fear our fire. It burns even in the coldness of space. It is why they hunted us until almost none remained. Asterisk. What do you want from me? June asked Colonel Ta. We want your help, Ta said simply. Whatever is happening to you might be our only weapon against the Vorn. June closed his eyes. He could feel Ryong's memories mixing with his own. He saw images of massive dragon-like creatures flying between stars, breathing fire that lit up the darkness of space. He saw the Vorn hunting them, capturing them, killing them. The voice in my head, Jun said. He says his name is Ryong. He says he's a celestial dragon. The Vorn hunted his kind almost to extinction. Sue and Colonel Tai exchanged looks. Can you communicate with this, Ryong? Sue asked. June nodded. He's becoming clearer. He says the crystal I found was his body. He was in some kind of sleep. When I touched it, part of him moved into me. Is that possible? Colonel Tai asked Sue. With what I've seen in the last few days, I'm starting to believe anything is possible, she answered. Colonel Tai stood up. Lieutenant Kim, I'm in charge of a special division. We study alien technology and biology to help defend Earth. I want you to join us. We can help you understand and control what's happening to you. Asterisk, we should accept. Asterisk, Ryong said in June's mind. Asterisk, the Vorn will not stop. They see humans as vermin to be exterminated, just as they saw my kind. Together, we might have a chance to stop them. Asterisk. June looked at Sue, who nodded slightly. I'll help, Jun said, but I need to understand what I'm becoming. And I need Sue to be part of this. She's the only one who's studied what's happening to me. Colonel Ta smiled for the first time. Dr. Park is already part of my team. Welcome aboard, Lieutenant Kim. Or should I say, welcome aboard, June and Ryong. June felt the dragon stir inside him, pleased. The alliance that would change the course of the war had begun. The underground military base was deep beneath the mountains. June had been there for 2 weeks, training every day. He stood in the center of a large room with metal walls. Colonel Ta watched from behind thick glass with Sue beside him. Try again. Colonel Ta's voice came through the speakers. Focus on feeling the heat in your chest. June closed his eyes. He was sweating, tired from hours of trying to control his transformation. Asterisk, you are fighting it. Asterisk, Ryong said in his mind. Asterisk, the fire is part of you now. Do not resist it. Asterisk, it hurts, Jun whispered. Asterisk, pain is temporary. The Vorn will cause more pain if we fail. Asterisk. June took a deep breath and reached inside himself for the burning feeling. This time, he didn't push it away. He let it grow. Heat spread through his body. His skin began to glow red where scales formed on his arms, chest, and face. Good, Colonel Ta said. Now try to control the fire. June opened his mouth, and flames shot out, hitting the metal wall across the room. The wall glowed hot, but didn't melt. More, Colonel Ta urged. The Vorn ships are stronger than that wall. June focused harder. The flames grew hotter, turning from red to blue. The metal wall began to melt. Asterisk, yes. Asterisk, Ryong said. Asterisk, this is only a small part of our power. Asterisk. Suddenly, pain shot through June's back. He fell to his knees, screaming. Sue's voice came through the speaker. His vital signs are spiking. We need to stop. No, June gasped. I can do this. Something pushed from inside June's back. With a sound of tearing cloth, two wing-like structures of scales and membrane burst from his shoulder blades. They weren't full wings yet, more like the beginnings of them. June looked at his reflection in the melted metal wall. His face was partly human, partly covered in red scales. His eyes were fully dragon now, golden with black slits. The small wings on his back twitched as he tried to move them. Extraordinary, Colonel Ta said. June, how do you feel? Sue asked, concern in her voice. Different, June said. His voice had a rumbling quality to it now. Stronger. Later in the lab, Sue ran tests on June as Colonel Ta watched. The transformation is happening faster than I expected, Sue said, looking at her screens. His body temperature can now reach over 200 degrees Celsius when he uses his fire, but his new scales protect his human tissue. Can he survive in space? Colonel Ta asked. Like the celestial dragons in his visions. Not yet, Sue said, but at this rate, soon he might. June sat quietly, listening to Raung's voice telling him about the celestial dragons, how they once traveled between stars without ships, how they could breathe fire even in the emptiness of space. The door to the lab opened, and a soldier rushed in. Sir, he said to Colonel Ta, we just got word. The Vorn have destroyed New Beijing colony. 50,000 dead. Colonel Ta's face hardened. When? 3 hours ago. Our fleet tried to stop them, but the soldier looked down. We lost all 8 ships. June stood up. The scales had faded, but his eyes still glowed slightly. I need to be out there, he said. Not in here training. Colonel Ta shook his head. You're not ready. 1 half-dragon against a Vorn fleet. That's suicide. Asterisk he is right. Asterisk Raung agreed in June's mind. Asterisk, we are not yet complete. Asterisk. June clenched his fists. Then train me harder. People are dying while I'm in here learning to breathe fire. Sue put her hand on June's shoulder. We'll work faster. But June, there's something you need to understand. Each time you transform, you become more dragon and less human. If we push too hard, too fast. She didn't finish, but June understood. He might lose himself completely. I don't care, he said. Whatever it takes to stop the Vorn. Colonel Ta nodded gravely. Tomorrow we begin combat training. The Vorn won't wait, so neither can we. 1 month after his training began, June sat in a meeting room with Colonel Ta, Sue, and several high-ranking military officers. The large screen on the wall showed a fleet of Vorn ships heading toward Luna, Earth's moon. Luna was home to humanity's largest shipyard. If they destroy Luna Base, we lose our ability to build more ships, said a general with gray hair. We must stop them at all costs. Colonel Ta stood up. We're sending our entire Earth defense fleet. 20 ships against their 15. It won't be enough, Jum said. Everyone turned to look at him. The Vorn ships are stronger than ours. You know this. The general frowned. What do you suggest, Lieutenant Kim? Send me with them. The room went quiet. Sue shook her head. June, you've only been training for a month. The longest you've held your transformed state is 30 minutes. It will be enough, Jum said. Asterisk we are ready. Asterisk Raung's voice agreed in his mind. Asterisk, the time for training is over. Asterisk. Colonel Ta looked at June carefully. You think you can make a difference against 15 Vorn warships? I know I can, Jum said. His eyes flashed golden for a moment. 6 hours later, June was on a military ship heading toward Luna. He wore a special suit Sue had designed for him. It would expand when he transformed and could withstand extreme temperatures. We're approaching the battle zone, the ship's captain announced. All crew to battle stations. Through the ship's windows, Jum could see flashes of light ahead. The battle had already started. Earth ships fired at the Vorn vessels, but their weapons seemed to do little damage. The Vorn weapons, however, cut through Earth ships like they were made of paper. 3 of our ships already destroyed, someone said. We're losing. June turned to the captain. I need to go outside. The captain looked unsure, but then nodded. The airlock is yours, Lieutenant. June entered the small airlock chamber. As the outer door opened, he felt the cold emptiness of space. Most humans would die instantly without protection, but he was no longer fully human. He stepped out of the ship. His spacesuit kept him alive, but he knew he wouldn't need it for long. Asterisk now. Asterisk, Ryong said. Asterisk, let go of your human form. Asterisk. June closed his eyes and embraced the fire within. Pain shot through his entire body as the transformation began. His suit stretched as his body grew larger. Scales covered his skin completely now. The wings on his back expanded fully for the first time, stretching out 20 meters from tip to tip. His head changed shape, becoming more dragon-like with a long snout. Fire burned in his throat, wanting to be released. A nearby Earth ship exploded as a Vorn weapon hit it. June felt rage build inside him. With a powerful push of his new wings, he flew toward the nearest Vorn ship. The Vorn ship noticed him and fired its weapons. The blue energy beams hit June, but his scales deflected them. He opened his mouth and released a stream of fire hotter than a star's surface. The fire cut through the Vorn ship's hull, and the ship exploded. June moved to the next ship, and the next. His fire destroyed 3 Vorn vessels in minutes. The remaining Vorn ships turned their weapons on him, but he was too fast, too powerful. The Earth ships watched in amazement as the half-human, half-dragon tore through the Vorn fleet. It's working, the captain of June's ship said over the radio. Keep going, Lieutenant. But inside his transformed body, June was struggling. He could feel his human thoughts slipping away as Ryong's dragon instincts took over. He destroyed 2 more Vorn ships, but with each passing minute, he remembered less about being human. Asterisk, do not resist. Asterisk, Ryong urged. Asterisk, we are stronger together. Asterisk. The last Vorn ships began to retreat. Earth had won its first victory against the alien invaders. But as June floated in space, surrounded by the remains of Vorn ships, he wasn't sure if he could return to his human form, or if he even wanted to. 2 weeks after the battle at Luna, June sat alone in a special room built just for him. The walls were made of the strongest metal on Earth. They had to be, because sometimes June lost control. Like now. No, he shouted as pain shot through his body. Scales appeared on his skin without him wanting them to. His eyes changed to dragon eyes, then back to human, then to dragon again. Asterisk, do not fight it. Asterisk, Ryong's voice said in his mind. Asterisk, we are becoming one. Asterisk, I don't want to lose myself, Jum said through gritted teeth. I need to stay human. The door opened and Sue walked in. She looked tired. She hadn't slept much since June's battle at Luna. She carried a small device in her hand. I brought something that might help, she said. June looked up. Half his face was covered in scales. What is it? A neural inhibitor, Sue explained. It might help you control the transformations. She placed the small metal device at the base of June's skull. It attached itself to his skin. Try it, she said. June felt a cool sensation spread through his head. For the first time in days, Ryong's voice grew quieter. The scales slowly disappeared from his skin. He sighed with relief. It works, he said. Sue smiled, but her eyes were sad. It's temporary, and there's a problem. When the inhibitor is active, you won't be able to fully transform. Your powers will be weaker. Before June could answer, Colonel Tai entered the room. His face was grim. The Vorn have regrouped, he said. Our victory at Luna made them cautious, but they're still attacking our outer colonies. He showed them a tablet with news from across human space. People called June the Dragon of Earth now. They told stories about how he had destroyed Vorn ships with his fire. He was a hero. "They need you out there," Colonel Ta said. "Not in here fighting with yourself." June touched the neural inhibitor at the back of his neck. "If I go out there again, I might not come back as human." "If you don't," Sue said quietly, "there might not be any humans left to come back to." June knew she was right. The Vorn wouldn't stop. That night, as June slept, he dreamed of flying between stars as a full dragon. The dreams were becoming more real each time. When he woke, he found his bed burned and his room filled with smoke. The neural inhibitor had fallen off while he slept. As Sue attached a new inhibitor, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. "What's happening?" June asked. Colonel Ta rushed in. "We have intruders in the base. Vorn soldiers somehow got past our defenses." "They're here for me," June said. He could feel it. "The Vorn know I'm the only real threat to them. We need to get you to safety," Colonel Ta said. But it was too late. The door to June's room exploded inward. 3 Vorn soldiers stood there, their weapons aimed at June. They looked just like the ones he had fought at the colony station, with their metal-like skin and eyeless faces. Sue moved to stand in front of June. "Run," she shouted to him. One of the Vorn fired. The blue energy beam hit Sue in the shoulder. She fell to the ground with a cry of pain. "Sue," June shouted. Rage filled him. Colonel Ta fired his own weapon at the Vorn, but it did little damage. Another Vorn shot at him, missing by inches. June looked at Sue bleeding on the floor. He reached up and ripped the neural inhibitor from his neck. "Asterisk now, asterisk," Ryong's voice said. "Asterisk. Now we fight as one." Asterisk. June knew what this meant. Without the inhibitor, the transformation might be permanent. He might lose his human self forever. But Sue was hurt. The base was under attack. He had no choice. "For Earth," June whispered, and let the fire consume him. Fire erupted from June's body as he transformed. The Vorn soldiers stepped back, their weapons raised. They had come to kill the dragon human, but now they seemed afraid. June's transformation was faster this time, more complete. His body grew larger, breaking furniture in the room. Scales covered him entirely. His wings burst from his back, hitting the walls. His face stretched into a dragon's snout with sharp teeth. With a roar that shook the room, June breathed fire at the Vorn. 2 of them disappeared in the flames. The third tried to run, but June moved with incredible speed, catching it with clawed hands and crushing it. Colonel Ta watched with wide eyes as he helped Sue to her feet. Her wound was painful but not life-threatening. "June?" Sue called. "Are you still in there?" The dragon that was June turned toward her. For a moment, his golden eyes showed no recognition. Then he blinked, and something human returned to his gaze. "Sue," he said, his voice deep and rumbling. "I'm still here, but Ryong is strong." More soldiers arrived, human ones this time. They stared at June in his dragon form. "The base is secure," one of them told Colonel Ta. "We found 6 more Vorn, all dead now." "Did they send any messages?" Colonel Ta asked. "No, sir. But we found something on their ship. It looks like plans for an attack on Earth. Something big." 2 days later, June sat in a large meeting room specially built to hold his dragon form. He had not changed back to human since the attack. Sue sat beside him, her arm in a medical sling. Colonel Ta stood at the front of the room with military leaders. "The Vorn are building a planet-killer weapon," Colonel Ta said. "Our spies confirmed it. They plan to destroy Earth in one attack." The room was silent. June felt Ryong's memories stirring. The celestial dragons had seen worlds destroyed before. "How long do we have?" someone asked. 3 days, Colonel Ta answered. "Their fleet is gathering here." He pointed to a map showing a spot in space not far from Earth's solar system. "Can we stop them?" Sue asked. Colonel Ta looked grim. "Not with our ships. But he looked at June. We might have another option. Everyone turned to look at June. In his full dragon form, he barely fit in the large chair made for him. You want me to attack their fleet, June said. It wasn't a question. We need more than that, Colonel Ta said. We need you to infiltrate their command ship and destroy the planet killer weapon before they can use it. Sue stood up. That's suicide. Even for him. Asterisk not suicide. Asterisk Ryong said in June's mind. Asterisk. But there will be no return. Asterisk. June understood what this meant. If he surrendered fully to the dragon, he might have enough power to destroy the Vorn fleet, but he would lose what remained of his human self. I'll do it, June said. The room went quiet again. June. No, Sue whispered. There has to be another way. There isn't, he replied. This is why Ryong chose me. Why we found each other. Later, as they prepared a special ship to take June close to the Vorn fleet, Sue came to see him. Her eyes were red from crying. You know the Vorn fear the celestial dragons, she said. When we examined the bodies of the Vorn soldiers you killed, we found something interesting in their brain patterns. They have a deep genetic fear of creatures like Ryong. They call us devourers of worlds. Jum said, the knowledge coming from Ryong's memories. Long ago, my kind kept the Vorn from spreading throughout the galaxy. Sue touched his scaled hand. Will you come back? June looked at her, his golden eyes sad. Not as the June you knew, but I will protect Earth. I promise. As June's ship prepared to launch, Colonel Ta gave him one last salute. Good hunting, Dragon of Earth, he said. June nodded and entered the ship. The final battle was about to begin. June's small ship approached the Vorn fleet silently. There were over 50 Vorn ships gathered around a massive command vessel. The planet killer weapon was inside that ship. I'm in position, Jum said over the radio to Earth. Good luck, Colonel Ta's voice replied. The future of humanity is with you, June. June looked down at his dragon form. Since leaving Earth, he had grown even larger. The ship's cabin was now too small for him. Parts of his body were starting to glow with energy. Asterisk, it is time, asterisk, Ryong said in his mind. Asterisk, we must complete the transformation. Asterisk, will anything of me remain? June asked. Asterisk, your courage, your determination, your love for your people. These things will be part of us forever. Asterisk. June took a deep breath. For Earth, then. He opened the ship's airlock and pushed himself out into space. The cold vacuum should have killed him instantly, but his dragon body was made for this. His wings spread wide, catching energy from the nearby sun. Fire burned inside him, keeping him warm. The Vorn ships detected him. They turned their weapons toward him and fired. Energy beams hit June, but they no longer hurt him. He flew toward the command ship, faster than any human vessel could move. Asterisk now, asterisk Ryong said. Asterisk let go completely. Asterisk. June closed his eyes and surrendered. The last barrier between human and dragon broke down. Energy exploded from his body as the final transformation took place. Where June had been, now floated a true celestial dragon. It was enormous, the size of a small ship. Its body glowed with red and gold energy. Wings of pure fire stretched out behind it. Its eyes were like twin suns. The Vorn ships fired desperately at the dragon, but nothing could stop it now. The dragon breathed fire that cut through Vorn ships like they were made of paper. 10 ships, 20 ships, 30 ships destroyed in minutes. The dragon reached the command ship and tore through its hull with claws of energy. Inside, Vorn soldiers fled in terror from the creature their ancestors had feared for thousands of years. At the center of the ship, the dragon found the planet killer weapon. It was a massive device pulsing with blue energy, pointed toward Earth. The dragon wrapped itself around the weapon and poured fire into it. The weapon overloaded and began to break apart. The command ship shook as systems failed. The remaining Vorn ships tried to escape, but the dragon would not let them. It flew from ship to ship, destroying each one. None would threaten Earth again. When it was over, the dragon floated alone in space, surrounded by the remains of the Vorn fleet. Inside the dragon, a small spark of June still existed. He remembered his promise to protect Earth. He remembered Sue and Colonel Ta. He remembered being human. 3 days later, Sue stood on a hill outside the military base, looking up at the night sky. Colonel Ta stood beside her. "Do you think he survived?" she asked. "The Vorn fleet was completely destroyed," Colonel Ta said. "No sign of June's ship, no communication." Suddenly, the night sky lit up with colors. Red and gold light danced across the stars, like an aurora but brighter. "Look," Sue pointed up. The lights seemed to form a shape, the outline of a dragon flying across the stars. "He's still out there," she whispered, "watching over us." In the weeks that followed, more reports came in from human colonies. Whenever the Vorn ships appeared, the dragon lights would appear too, driving the aliens away. Sue established a new research division dedicated to understanding the celestial dragons. She hoped that one day they might find a way to communicate with June, or even help him return. And high above Earth, between the stars, the dragon that had once been Jum Kim soared. It was no longer just human or just dragon, but something new. A guardian born of both worlds, with the power of an ancient cosmic being and the heart of a human who refused to let his people fall. The dragon of Earth had ascended, and humanity would never again stand alone against the darkness of space.